There's a level of leadership most people respect from a distance. And then there's the version that leaves a mark on you. The kind that doesn't slow down, doesn't lower the bar, and doesn't make room for excuses when things get heavy. Bob Forsythe built his name on that standard. The kind that forces you to either rise or get buried trying. But what people don't see is what it takes to carry that for years. The pressure, the expectation, the cost of never letting up. Because reaching Sergeant Major isn't the finish line. It's where the wait really starts. On this episode of Tactical Tequila Podcast, I'm your host, Matt Wilson. If you enjoy the show, hit the like button, subscribe, and share it to your social media platforms. Thanks for tuning in and enjoy the show. Welcome back, everyone. Matt with Tactical Tequila Podcast. And tonight's show, we have Command Sergeant Major Bob Forsythe. Now, Bob and I go way back.
Yep.
Iraq, back in Mosul, and we were just living out of this barracks type building, and I mean, we were sleeping 3 and 4 men per room.
Mm-hmm. Those are the good
But
days, man.
they were. And Bob Forsythe doesn't just wear the rank. He earned it the hard way. I've watched him set the pace that most people don't even survive. And hold a standard that doesn't bend when it gets uncomfortable. What people don't see is what it takes to live at that level every day without slipping, because that kind of leadership, well, it doesn't just build you, it grinds you down first. Bob, welcome to the show. Thank you so much.
Hey, man, thanks so much for having me. Yeah, I really appreciate the opportunity, man. It's great to see you too again.
Likewise, it's been way too long, brother.
It's actually been far too long, like 2 decades too long.
Yes. You know, we talked a little bit about a little bit before the show, and you're approaching 27 years, or you're on 27 years.
I will be this summer, this August. I'll hit 27. I'm pretty much
Okay.
there, but yeah.
So when you were younger, you know, young, we'll say even a buck sergeant, what did you think making sergeant major meant? And how wrong were you in your thoughts?
Well, I think it was hard for me to even kind of fathom that at that young age. I never, ever saw myself uh, becoming a sergeant major. In fact, you you were lucky to even hear me talk about staying past my first enlistment, right? Like most people do. Um, and even at that age, early in our careers at Bragg, like we hardly ever saw the CSM uh, anywhere in our company footprint. Um, so what I guess, without that interaction with the sergeant major, I guess what my thought process was about what it what it would take to be that. I almost thought it was like trying to become somebody you're not. Like you have to become somebody else because the sergeant major is this big old mean person, just going around harping on everybody, get off my grass or whatever, right? Um, and so I didn't really have too much of an opinion about what that meant. Um, and as I finally got here, I was obviously extremely wrong. It's not becoming somebody else. It's not selling your soul. It's not, you know, it's not all these things. It's for me, at least speaking for me, it was about growing and learning and becoming just the person I am today. I'm just a person. I'm just wearing the rank. Um, but it took a lot of growing, and I didn't realize that when I was young. I didn't realize what it took. So it was very eye opening.
And as you're talking about growing, when did you realize that the path wasn't all about recognition, and it was more about endurance?
Um, I, the I never really wanted to do anything for recognition. It was always great to get recognized for the small things, for the little small things you do for the organization, but and it was never really about being recognized by by anyone as a whole. Um, but really, the first like real opportunity that really sunk in was when I became a first sergeant, and that was always a goal of mine was to be first sergeant. Um, And you really realize just how much bigger the picture really is when you have to take care of an entire organization instead of just a platoon size element or a squad size element. When you're dealing with a whole company, um, that's kind of really when that really hit home for me.
What what lie do you think soldiers tell themselves when they start feeling like they need to chase the rank?
I think the lie is I sat down, was trying to think about this one for a little while, but I think the lie is that they have to become somebody else. They have to change who they are. They have to become just this entirely different person. And that really was not, that's really not the case. The truth is, it's like you should be true to who you are and be yourself. But you're taking the time, all that time, the years, the experiences to grow and learn, to develop your leadership style. And there were a lot of opportunities along the way for me to learn, good and bad. I made a lot of mistakes, but there were a lot of opportunities along the way for me, yeah, to kind of learn and mold myself into what I hope and think is a good leader.
Do you think that there's a point that the ambition turns into obligation?
Yeah, I think so. As a leader, we're really always obligated. There's always an obligation as leader, right? We're obligated to take care of our troops, take care of our organization. Um, but I tie ambition in with like goals. As I mentioned before, like my long term goal was to be a first sergeant, and so when I finally got there, um, great, I'm there. I made my goal right, so I'm a first sergeant. So now what? Well, now you know it's time to take care of everybody and do exactly what I set out to do. But I'm obligated to those soldiers, to their lives, to their training, to their mentorship and guidance. And I'm obligated to take care of them as their first sergeant, as their senior enlisted advisor, NCO in that organization. Now, as the battalion CSM, even more.
When did you realize that being good wasn't just enough, and that you pretty much had to be relentless in your climb to command sergeant major?
So I don't know if relentless was really the right word, but it was more so of perseverance. Um, I I'll be real. I never thought I was good enough, brother, man. I always just was hoping I was doing a good enough job. I was hoping I was taking care of troops good enough. But I always had to continue to persevere and to continue to learn to hopefully get to a sense of being good enough. But that perseverance never stopped. It's continuous. Even today, I still never really feel like I'm good enough, to be sitting here in this chair right now. And I have to continue to persevere and learn and grow myself um, for the betterment of the organization.
Would you say that you kind of have that? mental fight with yourself every day to always be better than what you were yesterday?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, man. Every day. Especially as I'm getting older too, right? I don't mention that I was hitting 27 years this August, which means I'm also turning 47 this August. So I'm twice the age of most of the soldiers in this organization, and I have to I'm always with an inward fight in myself to be better, because I have to be out there. Presence is a huge thing with the troops here, and if I'm going to be, it's one thing to be out there, but it's another thing to be out there doing it with the troops, and I have to take care of myself in order to be better every day. But the fight, the internal fight is real, and it's a struggle every day.
What was the moment that you feel like where you had to outlast something instead of maybe outperform it?
Um, I'm not sure there was ever a situation where I necessarily had to outlast it, over outperforming it. If I had to say anything, maybe in those times in my career where I might have had not so great leadership, and no matter it didn't matter how much I would try to outperform them, their leadership style wasn't the greatest, and sometimes it was just best, just check Raj and just kind of wait it out until they left. So,
So, and as you're talking about that, the army and military in general is kind of known for you fuck up, you move up type um, um, mentality. And you and I have both seen it with some leadership that we have had in the past, or at least been around. But how
yeah.
do you navigate a system where not everything is based on merit in that aspect?
It can be difficult. You Again, for me, I have to constantly remind myself um about the betterment of the organization. Some soldiers are managed to sneak through the cracks, and even at this level, there's nothing that I can quite do about it. Our promotion system for sergeants and staff sergeants, for example, it's mandatory for those soldiers to attend the promotion board when they hit their primary zone, whether they're ready or not. Providing they're not in trouble or flagged or anything like that. But um, and a lot of times those soldiers sneak through the cracks and find themselves as a new sergeant, and they're not quite ready, and they weren't quite they didn't quite make it there based on merit. It's kind of by technicalities. They were good enough to study enough to answer a few questions on the board, and like, all right, well, you didn't screw up too bad, so here's your promotable status. And they might be book nerds, and they got college points and military education points, and now they're your brand new sergeants and staff sergeants. So it can be difficult, and it can be frustrating sometimes. But you really just got to kind of trust the system that eventually things are going to work out. Even with your soldiers get in trouble with the law, I've got those issues going on in my organization, as does everybody else within the army too. And you kind of just have to, ensure you're doing things correctly, and hopefully justice will prevail.
And, you know, as you kind of hinted on a little bit of standards there, what does the standard actually look like when you're the one enforcing it daily?
Really, the standard looks easy when you're the one enforcing it daily. It can be exhausting. Um, you know, if I as long as I'm enforcing the standards, I always have to ensure that I'm in the right. So I never want to get complacent to where I always think I'm in the right. My uniform looks good. I double check my uniform when I get out of my car to make sure my bootlaces are still good. Or, my pant leg isn't pulled up too high, whatever the case might be. My headgear's on straight. Um, because if I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna make it on the spot correction, I better damn sure be make sure that I'm in the right as well. Um, so it can be exhausting sometimes, especially if some of my leaders aren't the ones enforcing the standards. And I don't really have that issue. I have a lot of great leaders in this organization, but every now and then, a leader will let a standard slide, and I have to have a conversation with that leader. Kind of remind them every time we let a standard slide, we just create a new one. So, and they get it. They understand. And I never really ever have a problem having to repeat myself. So, but it can be exhausting sometimes. But like, as far as me, you know, being the one having to force it daily, like it's easy. It's easy to do.
What separates the ones who survive the standard from the ones who don't?
Well, really, it's just those people that survive. It's not even them surviving the standard. It's just when they abide by the standard, they can easily separate themselves from those that just frankly want to blatantly disregard the standard. And you'll see those soldiers move on up, and you'll see the soldiers not following the standards kind of go away. And life gets difficult for them, and we got to ensure that we end up sending them packing on home. All right, thank you for your service, but it's time for you to go. This is not your place. It's time for you to go home. So.
What would you and you know, talking about that, what would you say the biggest difference in mentality between soldiers now and soldiers when we were in?
Oh man, that is a loaded question, dude. That is that because I have these conversations with a lot of people all the time. And it's really easy and quick to say soldiers are just different today. Soldiers aren't the same today. Well, I mean, honestly, those young soldiers that are in today, well, like if my generations are the parents that raised them this way. So like if anything, it'd be our fault, right? Um, but I, hmm, a lot of things have changed since our time. When you and I would get in trouble, we got a little bit more than smoked, and we never made a mistake again, right? We
Sometimes it
could,
was a wall-to-wall counseling.
yeah, exactly, yeah, a little oak tree counseling, yeah, a little STFU, and just pound sand and move on. Um, but I don't know, a lot of it's a different. The army is definitely different today. I believe it just changes with every generation. I'm sure when we were in, people in my position were saying the same thing. This generation's weak now. These soldiers they're terrible. They don't listen. They don't you know they're no good. And the same thing's being said today. Soldiers today just can't hack it, but they can. They really can. It's just a different it's just a different world now. It's a completely digital world that we live in, and they find that a lot, soldiers get a lot of I don't know if gratitude is the right word, but uh, like acceptance and all that stuff from like their social media accounts. Um, grat, yeah, man. There's the word I'm looking for is not there, but
Would you say that they're less resilient today, than they were back then? Or would you say that maybe they're just kinda dealing with a different kind of pressure?
so I will say they are dealing with a different kind of pressure, just like I mentioned, the social media aspect. But I don't I don't think they're as resilient today, as we might have been. Uh, we grew up seeing a lot of stuff downrange. And while this generation hasn't quite been, to war as often as you and I have, I just, when something goes wrong, like their entire world breaks down. So whereas when something happened to you and I, like, it was like, "Okay, well, check rides and we'll move on and carry on with the day." So, I couldn't tell you exactly why. I no no idea, but, um, I think there's a combination of both. They're not as resilient, but I think it also has to deal with the amount of pressures that they have to deal with today.
Do you think maybe um, part of their lack of resiliency is maybe softer leadership in some aspects?
Yeah, I would say in some aspects there is some softer leadership. Um, it's not all soft anymore. I've got some hard leaders in my organization, good, effective, and hard leaders. But there are some soft leaders, but that also doesn't make them bad leaders either. It's just a different leadership style. Um, and I think that's the most important thing that we need to kind of recognize is that whether you got hard leadership or soft leadership, it's how you shape and mold your leadership to around your soldiers, uh, to train them and guide them. It doesn't get through them, really.
What kind of toughness would you say existed back in our day versus now? I mean,
um,
I feel like the leadership that we had, whether it was Bullet or Billy
yeah,
East
man.
or Slayton, you know, I feel like the grit, the tough as nails, like it was there.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man, it's hard to replicate that pool you just mentioned right there, especially Bullet. Man, he was a rock star. He was awesome. I still remember my first encounter with him. Uh, as a brand new private showing up to the 108. We were there was like 20, 25 of us that graduated basic training that went to airborne school together. They came to the 108 together, right? Uh, and after in processing, they brought us into the 108 day room in the old barracks, the old company area there. And man, I just remember Bullet coming in there. He had that freaking crew cut on the top, just that landing strip.
The horse
Uh the horseshoe, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then that mustache, man. And he just came in and he circled around all of us and he started he asked every one of us, who's the greatest actor in the world?
John Wayne.
Of course it was John Wayne, man. I didn't know that. Well, my buddy next to me said Chris Farley, and then we all got smoked for it. And but oh man, he was so tough, but he knew exactly what he was doing. He could back it up. And people wanted to be in his platoon. The same thing with Billy East, Glenn Slayton, um, all those other guys. He just wanted to just wanted to be like those guys, wanted to compete, wanted to out PT them, or just wanted to do uh, all the things that they could do. Um, and I just think it was for us, it was part of it. I think it was the Fort Bragg mentality because you've been to different installations, man. There's a mentality at each installation, and that airborne mentality, that was something different. That is a different mentality, and you know, I mean, yeah, yeah, but for real, but you bring that mentality for Leonard, uh, and it just doesn't work. Um, there's great leaders there, but it's a different kind of grit. Um, I just, I think it's different today, just because, um, you know, uh, the wars that we've gone through, and all that has all that's settled down now. And we're just the fact that we're kind of living in a different world is the military is um it comes from the society. So what our society is like is the people that we have in our military. So But I don't think that there's a different kind of grit, I would say.
What would you say something that you could do as a leader back then um, wouldn't survive in today's environment?
Oh, either the name calling or the smoking. You know, smoke is still allowed today. Making people do push-ups, all that stuff's still allowed today. But like, but you couldn't get away with the way we guys smoked when we were soldiers. Because we get smoked upon hours upon end, right? And have to do some of the most crazy, sometimes humiliating things. And in a way, I'm glad that isn't quite here anymore. Because it definitely sucked being humiliated. Um, and sometimes that made some very vivid imaginations on what you wanted to do to your leadership. So, so I'm kind of glad we kind of gotten away from that. Um, but yeah, and man, I'm sure you can remember some of the names that we were called too. Uh, and not even making a mistake, just for existing. Uh, you definitely can't do that today.
You know, knowing what society looks like today, I could definitely see that, that would definitely not fly.
Yeah.
And I could see leaders being brought up on charges quick,
Hmm.
um, for something as minute and trivial as that.
Yeah. Yeah. I can remember even all of us talking together in a group when someone makes a mistake, you're like, like, what are you doing, dipshit? A little bit more graphic than that. I don't want to get into too many of the things that were said, but like it's just you can't say it today.
Um, Now that you're a command sergeant major, the weight of the job, when does the job turn off? Does it ever leave you? Like, when you go home, are you able to, just turn it off?
So no, you can't turn it off. Not right now, not in this position. I make an effort to at least check it at the door. Um, but I mean, what the reality is in this position, like the job can never be fully turned off. If I just turned my phone off and ignored phone calls and text messages from platoon sergeants, first sergeants, commanders about problems that they're having, I would fail this organization because things happen after hours and things got to get taken. Troops got to get taken care of after hours. Emergencies happen, and leaders got to rush to take care of these troops. So you can never fully turn the job off. You can make an attempt to hit pause, uh, but and I could try to leave it here in the office or check it at the door, but it's never really truly off. Unfortunately, um, I've got an amazing wife that I can vent to and talk to, um, who's also an MP Sergeant Major, um, and is brutally honest and will tell me what if I'm just crying about something or if I have something legitimate to vent about. And but it's great to talk it out with someone that understands what I'm going through or what this organization might be going through and be able to just talk it out.
And having her in your corner and being a pillar in your support channel, um, what's the mental toll on you for being the one that everyone looks to when things go wrong?
It can be taxing. I'll be honest, it can be taxing. We all try to mask it. We all try to hide it and keep it inside. Um, as I said, I'm fortunate to be able to at least vent to my wife about it, and she understands what I'm going through, and I can talk it out. Um, but that's the only person. I can't do that with anybody else here at work. Well, with the exception of my battalion commander. Him and I are battle buddies. and we need to be able to talk things out together, so we're all continuously on the same page. Um, but it can be taxing keeping it all inside. Um, I don't like as I said, fortunately, I don't have to keep it all inside all the time. I have avenues to vent to, um, but at the end of the day, sometimes it can be very, very tiresome.
Do you ever feel like you can't have a bad day?
You can't you can't I mean, you can have a bad day, but you better keep it inside. You better keep it to yourself. Oh, for me, I'll talk to my battalion commander next door. But I can't the troops can't know. They can't see me having a bad day. Now, a lot of people might argue, we're like, "Oh, the soldiers should see you have a bad day because so they know that you're human." And I can understand that point, but there are other ways to show your soldiers that you're human, and that just by simply sharing experiences with them. But if I'm having a bad day, then the whole battalion's having a bad day, and we can't afford that.
And by them having a bad day, does that mean everyone's getting smoked?
No, no. Okay. I'm glad you asked that clarifying question, man. No, that's not what I meant. It's just like if they see me having a bad day, they might take that back to the company too, and I don't know, maybe they'll stop caring about something, or they'll fail to do some things for whatever they need to get done. That kind of thing is what I'm referring to. If I'm smoking somebody, something is seriously wrong. I have not smoked anybody as a CSM or an operations sergeant major for that fact, at all.
There's a first time for everything.
Yeah, I don't want to put that out in the air, man.
What is something that you've carried that no one has ever seen?
Um, I went through a lot of dark times. Um, I went through some bad times in Germany, and you know, ended up coming back from Germany single, right? Um, so I went through bad times, but I essentially had to kind of keep all that to myself. Had a lot of dark thoughts, just to say the least, and I've had to keep that to myself because I never wanted to show that side. Uh, uh, I thought, based on the way I grew up in the army, that that was a sign of weakness, right? So it took a while for me to realize that it's not. A sign of strength is actually going out to seek help, and I did. But then I would end up sharing those experiences with my soldiers, and that was the side of me that people would see that, oh, like, the first sergeant's human or the sergeant major's human. But that dark period of time, like that, I kept that inside for a long time because I didn't want
How,
anybody to see it.
how do you pull yourself out um, from dark periods like that? And how do you keep yourself from stepping back into those moments?
Honestly, man, I had a lot of great friends and family that I was able to lean on and talk to. Uh, didn't really want to talk about things at first, but fortunately, people pushed, kept on asking, and and had some good leaders at work too, that cared, um, and really just kind of talking it out, seeking some counseling, is how I essentially pulled myself out. And that's just the first part, just pulling myself out. That's just the first step, you know, learning, forgiving. Um, there's a lot of other things I had to do on my own to get to that point. I spent a lot of times outdoors, hiking, questioning a lot of things that I've ever done in my life. And it, it took years to kind of even accept the things that I did and kind of forgive myself a little bit, right?
Do you feel that any of your dark periods, do you think that any of that came from our deployments?
It, I, possibly. Um, I still even think about some of those things today. Um, it's hard to kind of just let some of that stuff go. But I didn't talk about it for a long time, and maybe that there's always that possibility that contributed to me making certain decisions, and ultimately put myself in a dark place for a while. Because we saw some things that we generally didn't talk about for a long time.
Quite a bit of stuff.
Yeah.
And there was a lot that we saw that we did, that really, men and women our age should never experience.
Yeah.
And we experienced more than in the first few years of deployment. We um, experienced more trauma and things that the average citizen in society
Hmm.
won't even experience in 3 lifetimes.
No. Yeah. They'll never be able to understand either.
And that's one thing, as a veteran and even active duty. That's one thing that we can help society do, is we can educate them
Hmm.
on the things that we've been through, and in maybe not necessarily how to handle us, but um, to hopefully give them a better understanding of where we're coming from and why we do the things that we do.
I think that's the important thing there is that understanding. Um, they, of course, they're not, might not know how to fix us or whatever or what to do, but at least maybe understand. But we do that by telling our story. You know, could be good, could be bad. But like getting your story out, telling our story, letting us be heard, could possibly, uh, you know, help the outside world, understand at least why we are the way we are, why we do, just essentially who we are.
And potentially it could help another veteran, or even someone who's currently serving,
Hmm.
when they hear the stories, they can relate because it's something that they may have gone through, or maybe it's not as traumatic, but for them, their experience is traumatic enough that
Hmm.
they feel it's as traumatic as what we went through.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think when we could find like something in common to be able to talk to and relate to, makes things a whole lot easier to be able to understand.
So now I just kind of want to back up a little bit, to deployments. What's something from deployment, any one of your deployments, that has never left you?
I mean, there's a lot, right? There's a lot. I think nothing ever quite beats the that closeness, that camaraderie with all your buddies that you were downrange with. Like all you guys in Iraq, man, like man, you, CJ, Tim, Shane, all them guys, man, Kevin, the Kevins, uh, you know, man, like nothing nothing ever beats that closeness and that camaraderie. The things we went through together. That's always with me. Um, of course all the
I'll tell you this, and sorry to interrupt you, but the first platoon that we had from '03 to oh well, the first deployment, so '03 to '04,
Mhm,
like, that was hands down, like, one of the best
man.
platoons.
It
ever.
still is one of the best platoons that I've ever been a part of. Um, just the greatest group of guys. And even for me, it extends even prior to my other deployments in Afghanistan, even Kosovo. You know, and we had Tim and CJ deployed to. I still talk to Tim these days. He officiated Kim and Ma's wedding. That's just how close you get with some friends, man. And even though friends haven't seen and talked to in 20 plus years, man, like we're picking up like we left off like where when we left 20 years ago, right? But it's because of that closeness and that bond that we all built back then. There was just Man, I know the other platoons in the company felt the same way, but it was we had just a solid group of people, um, that I truly miss all the time, man. We just had
Yeah.
we made the best of times in the worst of times.
I love that, and it couldn't be said any better than that right there.
Yeah, yeah.
As a leader in um, your time down range, did you ever have to lead while dealing with like your own internal fight?
Um, yeah, I mean, I always had an internal fight with myself to just to be better, and to hope that I was even leading my soldiers as best as I could. Look at the time, I thought I was doing my best. Looking back now, I'm sure I can point out 1,000 flaws. Uh, um, just based on the experience that I've got now and how it was back then. But yeah, it was. I found myself leading with some internal flaws. Back home. Um, where are we gonna make it? Am I doing a good enough job to take care of my troops? Kyle's one of them. You know how Kyle was. Uh, so I
McClight.
just yeah. Sorry. So even today I always look back and I hope that I did a good enough job to take care of them. So
What kind of decisions stay with you longer than they should?
probably the wrong decisions, the decisions where it was a mistake. Um, Man, I could probably name a dozen, uh, you know, mistakes that I made, but I think those are the ones that stay with you the longest. Um, and at least, again, speaking for me, I'm glad they stay with me so I can continue to remember them and to never make those mistakes again.
Would you say that not only those decisions, but the experiences, would you say that they've made you sharper, harder, or both as a senior leader?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with both. I'm gonna go with both. Um, Making mistakes along the way helps sharpen you, not even just as a leader, but as a person altogether, right? Um, Yet at the same time, continuously makes you harder. As long as you're striving to continuously be better, I think though that's always gonna sharpen and harden you.
Now, as a command sergeant major, when you finally reached this level, um, did it feel like you thought it would feel?
To be honest, I had no idea how it would feel. Because I never this was never a goal of mine was to be a sergeant major. I just got lucky. Um, my main goal in the army was to be a first sergeant. I made that goal actually twice. Um, so when I finally became a sergeant major, it was kind of surreal. Um, to be honest, even today, still sitting here, it's like holy crap, I'm a whole ass command sergeant major. Uh, it's still surreal. I can't believe that I'm the one. I'm here. It's this. I'm the guy. So, um, I don't know exactly how I was gonna feel making it up here, but I'll tell you, it's surreal and very, very humbling.
If you had to do it again, what would you protect more of on your way up?
I would absolutely protect time. Um, yeah, I can't preach that enough. Time, especially now that I'm getting older. I'm creeping up on 50 here in a few years. I'm creeping up on my 30-year mark. Um, Time is something that we'll never ever get back, and I would absolutely do everything I can to protect more of it, to spend more time with my family. Because that's all I do. I go home and I spend time with the family because they're the ones who are going to be there for me when I retire. Um, and it is important to treat family and spend that time with the family. So yeah, absolutely. If I would go back, I would protect more time.
So now I know that you have a little side hobby of woodworking, and you do
Yeah,
some great pieces,
I
um,
appreciate that.
and so what does woodworking and your passion for that, what does that give you that leadership never could?
Um, well, I wouldn't say this. It's not something that leadership couldn't give me, but it definitely gives me patience. And an attitude to learn more. Um, we I can remember starting off with the very basic of woodworking skills. I could glue two blocks of wood together, right? I can use a saw and cut something in half. Um, so but it took a lot of learning to figure out how to cut wood correctly, how to sand properly. Um, Eventually reaching out to friends on how to build a wavy flag and getting that link from you, man.
Which,
It
by the way, that your first one looked phenomenal.
I appreciate it, man. It did turn out pretty good. I was quite surprised, and I've used that ever since. But woodworking helped give me a sense of patience and then a drive to challenge myself to learn different things and on how to build different things in different ways.
Would you say that building something with your hands is a way to take back control in a way?
Um, yeah, that could be a good way to say it. Taking back control. Sometimes at work things can be chaotic and feel like they're out of control. But once I get in the garage and into my shop, I'm the one making the decisions on how I'm going to cut this wood, how I'm going to sand it, and placing things where they need to go. So uh, it, it actually, for a while, woodworking was one of my forms of therapy to help me pull me out of my dark place. And then, yeah, I'd spend hours in the garage just building random stuff, learning different things, challenging myself, uh, and learning new things about myself, um, and to help me just become better.
What would you say that you learned about yourself during your various projects?
Um, I'm still working on it, but sometimes can be short fused, short tempered. Um, and woodworking has definitely helped me learn how to be more patient and just kind of take a few woosah moments and kind of relax and chill out. Yeah, this piece didn't cut the way you wanted it to, but cut another piece and move on, man. Um, so yeah, I'll leave it at that.
For me, like I love woodworking,
Hmm.
and I find it very cathartic, and I find it very therapeutic.
Yep.
Um, to just, I mean, whether you just have music going or nothing else, and you're just kind of like in your own mind, and you're trying to make a piece look as beautiful as you envisioned it.
Yep.
And and not to toot my own horn, but I've made some great pieces that I've been like,
You
you
have, man.
know,
I've seen a lot of your work. It's very, very beautiful.
I'm like, I'm very proud of this. And one of the ones that I'm really proud of is my uh, dresser that I made out of
Oh,
cedar,
yeah. Okay. I remember seeing that.
and it had RFID locks. You
Mhm.
know, it was basically a gun safe,
Yeah.
and one of the most challenging pieces that I've ever made, but one of the most fulfilling pieces that I've ever made.
Yes, absolutely.
And by the time I was done, it took 4 people to lift it up into the truck. That's how heavy it was.
Awesome. That just means it was a solid quality piece of work, man.
I mean, it was 5 foot wide by 5 foot high by 25 inches deep.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a solid piece, alright.
It held 16 long guns. It had a hidden drawer in one of the drawers. It had a drop down in one of the other drawers, and shelves in on both side cabinets.
Yeah, man, I'll give you all the props to that. I don't know that I could have done that. Like, maybe I could have, but it would take me a very, very long time and a lot of patience.
So with work and everything, it really took me like 2 months to make,
Yeah, okay.
because I would
Yeah.
work a day, and then I would literally come home and work 4 to 6 hours in the garage,
Yeah,
you
man.
know, as often as I could in order to make it.
Yeah. And I so that's the thing, is having the time to do it. I haven't had a whole lot of time to work in the garage in my shop, being a sergeant major, an operations sergeant major and a command sergeant major. Um, it's it's very time consuming. Not that I stay super late. I don't. I make it a point to get out of here generally no later than 1800, right? Um, but as I said before, my family is the most important thing right now, and I go home and I spend the time with the family. So if there is a project, a wood project, somebody wants to order something, they have to order it in with plenty of time because it's going to take me a while, a while to get it done.
Well, Bob, I thank you for your time. Where can everyone find you on social media?
Well, so I have my Instagram page. It's Too Tall Projects. I think it's TOO underscore tall underscore projects on Instagram. My Facebook page is Too Tall Projects, and then my own personal Facebook page is Bob Forsythe.
Perfect. Well, again, thank you, brother. It's been a pleasure sitting down and catching up with you.
Absolutely, brother.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. It was great talking to you.